A conspiracy theory, which was first discussed a couple of years ago, has recently resurfaced, and I'd like to thank my friend Michelle for sending me a link to it. Now, this conspiracy is part of the larger Flat Earth conspiracy, so please don't expect any semblance of logic, reason or sanity. Because it states that the country of Australia doesn't exist. Now, that's a shock to me, but I expect it's more of a shock to the 24 million Australians who live there. Apparently, Australia doesn't exist. It is a lie created to help the British carry out some of their dastardly deeds. And as us Brits are the universal villains, I guess that makes sense. So apparently what happens is, anyone who flies to Australia is actually flown to part of South America, and all the pilots are in on this. Now, I have to say, this is even more ridiculous than the other theory put forward by flat earthers, saying that the reason that pilots don't know the earth is flat is because NASA manipulates its GPS system. How anyone didn't notice that the world was flat before NASA was formed in 1958, we'll never know. But let's say all the pilots are in on it, they're all happy to be part of a conspiracy to cover up that Australia doesn't exist to aid something that Britain did a couple of 100 years ago. That would mean that when you got off the aircraft, the airport would be fake, everyone that you interacted with at the airport would be an actor employed by NASA, because apparently NASA's behind this for a fucking change. And your holiday in Australia would be like a version of the Truman Show, and that only covers flying there. It doesn't cover shipping. Okay, large commercial ships, yes, they all use GPS, but what about small sailing vessels, private vessels? I'm sure by now someone would have said, we had a really weird experience on our sailing holiday. We were going along the coast of Venezuela, and then suddenly we're outside Sydney fucking Opera House. So what is it that the British have done? Well, as you may well know, Australia was originally a penal colony, and that says all you need to know about the British psyche. We discovered this beautiful new country, hot, loads of resources, so we sent the criminals there, and we kept living on this poxy little island in the pissing rain next to the French. But of course, according to this theory, Australia isn't real, so what happened was, the British wanted to get rid of their criminals, so they would put them on the transportation ships, sail them over the horizon, which is awkward for flat earthers because they don't believe in that either, would then tie them up and just throw them overboard to let them drown. Now, there's a couple of problems with this theory. Firstly, yes, prisoners were transported, but sometimes their families would go with them. So even if the most hardened prison guard would have agreed to go on a ship and throw a convicted felon overboard, would he have done it to the guy's wife and 5 kids as well? And more to the point, when this was alleged to have been going on, Britain still had the death penalty. The Crown could have executed anyone it liked for committing a crime without this elaborate scam of Australia. And then what would have happened to the people that went over for the Australian gold rush? Did the Brits execute all them as well? What about the people we know now who are over there? Are they all living in some soundstage, blissfully unaware, in South America while NASA lies to them? Sporting events. Like the Olympics, the Aussies always do really well. But apparently these people must all be actors employed to carry on this myth that Australia exists. When I was a kid, late 80s, early 90s, one of the most popular shows on television was Neighbours. Now try and get your head around that. This means that NASA are making soap operas about a fictional country with actors who've all put on the same fake accent, because the Aussie accent can't exist, in order to cover up a lie told by the British 2 fucking centuries ago. It's madness. Flat earthers, do you not understand the gravity of what you are saying? No, because you don't believe in gravity either.